Hi, I'm Austin Erdnam. Welcome to the Kitchen Table Podcast. I'm here to motivate, educate, and relate to you guys, share my stories, helping you get 1% better in all areas of your life. Welcome to episode number 115. Happy to be here with you guys today. Got a short one, but a good one in store. Last time I know I said it was going to be short, and it wasn't. This time it will be. It'll be right at that 14-minute mark, hopefully, and hope you guys get 1% better and relate to your own life as always. And I'll share my stories, and you can take it as you will. Appreciate you guys being here once again. Jump right into it here. The quote of the week this week was, again, my Motivation Monday. Kind of got a trend going on that. It's by Jim Rohn. And it says either one of two things can happen. So the quote is, either the day runs you or you run the day. One more time. The quote is, either the day runs you or you run the day. So what does that mean? I think of deciding factors, right? Are you putting in that effort, or are you just getting through life, right? Somebody says, hey, how are you? And they say, oh, I'm getting through it. Are you getting through it, or you're excelling at it? Are you conquering it, or are you surviving, right? It's kind of the connotation we use, which we're going to get to in a little bit. And I think for my day, what I do when I wake up is I think about, okay, what do I need to do today? And I know there's some things I don't want to do in the day. If I can do those first, I try to get those done. Or if I have like busy work before school, I try to get all that busy work done, check it off the list, easy peasy, and then move on. Again, my workout is one of my big things. So if possible, try to work out as early as possible during the day without having to sacrifice that sleep. So weekends, what I do the first thing is when I wake up, eat breakfast, and I go work out and get that done, and I can enjoy the rest of my weekend. And again, you can kind of stuffed up right now. So either you can decide, hey, I'm not going to do this today because I don't feel the greatest, or it could be, all right, I'm going to do hard intensity, but maybe a little less volume, or I'm just going to do my workout like normal, and I'm going to embrace the suck, right? We embrace the suffering. So either, or you can go through your day and I don't want to get out of bed today. Not going to happen. You're going to call in sick to work, and then you don't get anything done. We like routine for the most part. Humans are creatures of habit. The more you can do the same thing over and over, the better you're going to feel. So in the end, the hardest step is to take is the first one. So what can you do to run the day? You make the decision, not others making decisions for you, or making decisions that are going to benefit you in a week, a month, a year, rather than kind of taking the easy route and not doing what's hard or doing what's necessary to get yourself to that next level or next step. Because there are levels to things in life. Second thing I want to talk about is where I saw God this week. And that kind of goes with one of the things we're going to talk about, and competency, but just dealing with things every single week, busy schedules, trying to find time that somebody come fix our fridge, for instance, trying to find different times of, okay, when can I do a kick lesson? When can I do my own thing? When can I help somebody else? When can somebody help me? Different things going through my brain of how everything can line up in an organized fashion and all make sense without overexerting myself, but also not underexerting myself. So trying to find that happy area. Just that God will provide timing of things. When you need to learn, you'll get answers when He's ready in due time. And when you're on that last little leg of suffering and you don't know if you can do it anymore, that's when something comes up. And I think that it's very evident of God's work and being in the palm of His hand if you're making the right decision. So I think just stress wise, schedule wise, learning wise, and I'll get to it in a second. Really nice to see things coming together and really take that stress off, and you can just feel it release. And that's a great way that I saw God this past week. Jumping in, I got three things for you guys today. One about the whole kind of lessons in life, one about sports psychology type stuff, and then one about workouts and just general knowledge that I have learned that I'll get into a little bit. So the first one is connotation. I said we get into this. So connotation versus definition. I was looking at or listening to the new LeBron James and JJ Redick podcast. It's called Mind the Game. If you want to check it out on Spotify, shout out to Spotify, by the way. And basically, we have the connotation. So their example was that talking about role players, right? The definition of a role player is doing their job essentially, and what is their purpose on the team? That could be the star player, that could be the head coach, that could be somebody who comes off the bench as a six man, or somebody who plays basically just good defense and might only play in every other game. But the connotation with that is if you are a role player, that you aren't somebody important, right? And people were saying, uh, or I guess JJ Redick was saying that people think that LeBron James isn't a role player, but he would say that everybody's a role player. That his role on the team is to be the star. His role on the team is to get the ball in crunch time and go make plays and tell others what to do and how to do it. Right, so he's kind of the facilitator. He's kind of in charge of the floor. He's a floor general or manager, as well as taking the burden to score the points if necessary. So I think we got the connotations and stereotypes of life, and then we have the actual definitions of life. Right. So what do we do that we're like, oh, other people might not think this is right, but it doesn't matter if they think it's right. It only matters what you're actually doing, right? We're in the weight room this past Saturday and we were grabbing some weights, and somebody probably thinks, oh, you're stealing these weights, right? That's the connotation. That's what it looks like, but we're not actually doing that. We're using them for a workout. Maybe not in the exact facility, but outside or at home, etc. Um, so the connotation does not go with maybe the actions. I think in life we have a lot of stereotypes around that because we think something's happened, but we don't know the whole story or don't care to learn the whole story. So don't go by something based on what people think it is or what it's perceived as, right? Look up the actual definition. And it's very hard, and back to JJ Redick, it's very hard to tell an 18-year-old kid that you're going to be a role player, but everybody has a role. So what is your role within your organization, and how do people make it, how do you make it feel, how do you make others feel like they're important or their role matters and is vital to the success of your business, your classroom, your team, whatever it may be. The second thing I want to talk about is competency. So I've been struggling a lot with, let's say I coach basketball, right? I don't know how people can draw up plays all the time in a timeout and there's a minute left in the game. How do you draw up an out of bounds play? Just like that. Never practice it, something brand new over and over and over. But it's all about concepts, right? Soccer, I feel like I could do that, but I always keep it simple. If you move here, this guy shifts right behind him. You kind of move as a unit, right? And basic, I guess, mechanics of how to kick a ball, how to shoot a ball, all those kind of things. And we get into those details. That's what makes great coaches better. And that's why you start as assistant coach. And that's why you spend time around the game, is you can learn those things. Like kicking, I can pretty much tell you what you need to do in kicking for the most part. Is there some more details and stuff that I could learn? Yes, always is. And I think continuous learning is something I really want to point out in this. You should always be continuously learning, but having a mindset of you have to have every single thing correct is not necessarily true. Like I always say, I want to be Mario, so he's good at everything, but he's a generalist, not a specialist, whereas Bowser's a specialist. CrossFitters are generalists, whereas Olympic weightlifters are specialists. So I was thinking about that in sports psychology. Okay, uh, what if I'm a coach or I'm working with the team and I don't understand the exact ins and outs of how to get to this place, right? Because I can talk about self-talk all the time. I can talk about confidence all the time, but in the end, if it's not working, there's not just some magical thing I can make up for self-talk, right? So do you go see somebody else? Do you change the way you're talking about it? So I think always you need to try to say the same thing in different ways, different worksheets, different activities. But there's only so many of those that I know where I can come up with. So then the next thing we talked about, and this is why my mentor really helped me this week, and part of why I said that things work out when you need it to, is that in that given situation, every play is so different. You call a timeout in basketball, and there's a minute left. As a sports psychologist, what do you say to that team in that minute? I don't know. I haven't practiced that, but every situation is going to be different. In the way you feel, the way you've practiced, you'll come up with something in that minute. You need to trust your learning. You need to trust your personality, trust that you know the team, and what you say in that moment is vital, and that they will get through. It'll get through to them, and that every situation is different. Maybe before we're struggling with free throws. Okay, so if this isn't free throws, we're taking the ball out. Okay, how do we have good self-talk when we're trying to get away from the defender, or have confidence to get the pass in over the 7-foot guy in front of us? There's simple things like that. Or what can we remind them of during the game that we've talked about with self-talk in the last minute that's going to make us successful? So it doesn't have to be this big overarching thing all the time and change the so-called game. Or in football, I always think of all these different concepts, or West Coast offense, or pro style quarterback versus running style quarterback, all this kind of stuff. And we just make it so complicated. And I like simple, and simple is fine. You just got to find a different way to say it. And each situation is going to be different, and you don't need to have, you're not going to run into the whole, I'll call it as boring, or you're saying the same thing. You might for a season, but then next season something else is new, hopefully, until you learn it. And the ones who are really working at it are going to get better. So you're always going to have different situations and examples that you can use, because every situation's a new event. Just like if you're at a casino and you're playing roulette, right? It's been red 13 times in a row. That does not mean number 14 has to be black. Everybody likes to bet on black because they think, oh, it's been 13 times in a row. It's a 50-50 shot, or 48 shot every single time, because it's a new event, right? And we need to think of that for our competency. And yes, we need to learn things and write up plays and think about, but it's just basic problem solving when the time comes. This guy goes here, okay, where do I go? This guy goes the other direction, okay, what do I do? And learning from the X's and O's, but also from experience and reading, talking to others, mentorship, et cetera, et cetera. Like I said, Andy Reid, one of the reasons he was an assistant coach and so good of a head coach is because he's been an assistant for tight ends, offensive line, helps with quarterbacks. He's done it all of every position. So he knows the ins and outs and how to make them all gel and run together. So I think anytime you're feeling like you're not competent, go back to what do you know and how can you help in that situation. That everyone is going to be different, and that you can problem solve and trust your instincts on that. The last thing I want to talk about, just from a functional fitness standpoint, so I always think of my dad's a chiropractor, and people say chiropractors aren't doctors. Well, what do you mean they're not doctors? But that's a different story for another day. But I always think how people say pull-ups in CrossFit are not actually pull-ups. You're just swinging. And then a kipping pull-up is when you come back and forward and you go up. You use your kind of arms, abs, and a little bit of your legs. You use your torso a lot to get yourself over that bar. People say that's not a pull-up. Well, a strict pull-up is when you just use your arms and you pull yourself up. Right. So in a workout, when you're doing 90 of them, you're definitely not doing strict pull-ups, because that would take forever. So you got to think of the stimulus of the workout, first of all. Second of all, if you are doing something in real life, you are never just saying, I'm only going to use my arms here. Usually, I mean, unless you're paralyzed or something like that, obviously you're forced to, but most of the time you're using all parts of your body, and you need to recruit as many muscles as possible. So kipping and the kipping pull-up compared to a strict pull-up, kipping is a lot more functional in movement, and then something you're going to deal with in life a lot more. So people say pull-ups aren't really doing the workout properly. Well, I would say it is, because it's relating more to everyday life. So next time somebody tells me that, I'm just going to talk about how the more you can do in the given amount of time, the bigger, higher intensity is, and the more capacity you are working towards in everyday life. That you may or may not need. Now, do you need that accessory work in small muscle fibers, just that one pull? Absolutely. But in a grand scheme of things, you're going to recruit a lot more muscles than that on a daily basis. So I think it's important to have constantly varied workouts, which is what CrossFit is, but also to have fast, slow, and huge amounts of sets and low amounts of sets. And the huge amounts of sets, you're definitely going to want to kip, just because you will get more work done in a shorter amount of time, which is the ultimate goal of fitness, right? So I just want to shoot out to you guys that kipping is more functional than just a normal pull-up. You're recruiting more muscle fibers and getting hopefully leaner, stronger, fitter, as in general aerobic capacity and muscular endurance as well. So that's what I wanted to say about that. And that is it. We're right at the 14-minute mark. Look at that. Appreciate Cole's Professional Kicking, Eartham Healthcare Services. I already mentioned Spotify, and obviously Vitargo. You get into that summer workout, more things outside, sweat more. Go ahead online. I put the link in the description. Get your Vitargo. Get 15% off. And that is all I have for you guys. I'll take you the last 30 seconds to reflect and think about how you can get better. And I'll see you guys next time. Love you. Bye.